You know what nobody talks about in Ecclesiastes? Chapter 4. And I get why. It's dark. Really dark. Solomon opens by looking at oppression and basically says, the dead have it better than the living. But here's what's wild. This chapter contains some of the most practical wisdom for surviving persecution, toxic systems, and isolation that you'll find anywhere in Scripture. And if you're living under pressure, whether that's a dictator, a toxic boss, or just crushing loneliness, Solomon's about to give you survival strategies that most churches won't touch. Let's go. Ecclesiastes 4:1. Again, I looked and saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they had no comforter. The power lay in the hands of their oppressors, and there was no comforter. Read that again. I saw the tears of the oppressed. Solomon's not philosophizing from an ivory tower. He's looking at real suffering, real injustice, real people crushed by systems of power. And he says it twice. They had no comforter. There was no comforter. The repetition isn't poetic. It's emphasis. The oppressed are alone. Nobody's coming to help. Now, some of you just felt that in your chest because you're living it. Maybe it's a government that targets your faith. Maybe it's a workplace where speaking truth costs you everything. Maybe it's a family system where power is abused and nobody intervenes. Solomon sees you, and he's not offering you toxic positivity. Verse 2-3. So I admired the dead, who had already died, above the living, who are still alive. But better than both is he who has not yet existed, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. This is brutal. Solomon's saying the dead have it better than people living under oppression. And those who were never born, they're the lucky ones because they never had to witness the evil. This isn't a sermon you'd hear on Sunday morning, is it? But it's in the Bible because God knows that sometimes life under oppression is so crushing that death looks like relief. If you've ever been there, if you've ever thought, I wish I'd never been born, or the dead don't have to deal with this, the Bible validates that feeling. You're not crazy. You're not faithless. You're experiencing what Solomon observed 3,000 years ago. Evil is real. Oppression is real. And sometimes it's so heavy that existing feels like a burden. But before you close this video thinking I'm just going to leave you in that darkness, no. Because verses 4-6 shift to something else. Something you need to hear. Verse 4. I saw that all labor and success spring from one man's envy of another. This too is futile, a pursuit of the wind. All your striving at work, all that competition, all that comparison, Solomon says it's rooted in envy. You're not working hard because you love the work. You're working hard because your coworker got promoted and you can't stand it. You're not building because you're called to build. You're building because your neighbor built bigger and you can't let them win. And Solomon calls it what it is. Futile, chasing wind. Verse 5. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. Translation. Complete laziness destroys you. But then verse 6. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and pursuit of the wind. Wait, is Solomon contradicting himself? Don't be lazy, but also don't work too hard? No, he's giving you the middle path. Work enough to survive, but don't destroy yourself chasing after more just because you're competing with others. One handful with peace beats two handfuls with stress. This is for everyone grinding 80 hours a week because you're trying to keep up with everyone else's Instagram life. Solomon's saying, stop. You're killing yourself for vapor, for wind, for nothing that lasts. Now, here's where it gets really practical. Verses 7-12 are about to give you a survival manual for hard times. Verse 9-10. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. For if one falls down, his companion can lift him up. but pity the one who falls without another to help him up. Two are better than one. You've heard this at weddings, right? It's the go-to verse for marriage ceremonies. But Solomon isn't writing a romance novel here. He's writing a survival guide. Look at the context. He just talked about oppression, injustice, crushing competition. And now he says, two are better than one. Why? If one falls down, his companion can lift him up. When you're under pressure, when you're facing opposition, when the system is trying to crush you, you cannot survive alone. The oppressed with no comforter, that's the tragedy of verse 1. But two people together? That's the solution. Pity the one who falls without another to help him up. This isn't about having a buddy to hang out with. This is about having someone who can pull you out of the pit when you collapse under the weight. And if you're facing persecution, if you're under oppression, if you're in a toxic system, listen carefully. Isolation is how they win. Community is how you survive. Verse 11. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? In ancient times, body heat was survival. In cold nights, alone meant death. Together meant warmth, meant life. And Solomon's applying this principle to every area. Spiritual cold, emotional isolation, persecution that tries to freeze you out. You need people, not because it's nice, because it's survival. Verse 12. And though one may be overpowered, two can resist. Moreover, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Though one may be overpowered, if you're alone, they will overpower you. The system, the oppressor, the enemy, they will win if you're isolated. But two can resist. 3, nearly unbreakable. This is why totalitarian systems always attack community first. They isolate you. They make gathering illegal. They criminalize fellowship, because they know what Solomon knew. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Here's what you need to do this week. If you're facing hard times, if you're under pressure, find your two. Don't try to be a hero. Don't think you can tough it out alone. The Bible explicitly says, pity the one who falls without another to help him up. Who's in your corner? Who knows your real situation? Who can pull you up when you collapse? If the answer is nobody, you're in danger. Not spiritual danger, actual danger. Because isolation is how you fall and stay fallen. For those of you in persecution, in underground churches, in systems that punish gathering, Solomon just told you why they're so afraid of you meeting together. Because a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. They can pick you off one by one, but together, you're nearly indestructible. And here's the thing about Ecclesiastes 4 that most people miss. Solomon starts with oppression and ends with community. That's not random. That's the answer. You can't stop the oppression. You can't always change the system. But you can refuse to be isolated. You can find your two. You can weave that 3-strand cord. Oppression is real. Injustice is real. Sometimes the dead really do have it better than the living in this broken world. But community, true, deep, sacrificial community, that's how you survive until the oppression ends. That's how you keep warm when the world goes cold. That's how you resist when they try to overpower you. Solomon looked at all the tears of the oppressed, and he gave you the strategy. Don't face it alone. Two are better than one. Not because it's comfortable, because it's survival. Subscribe, because Solomon's about to tackle money next, and it's gonna wreck some of your theology about wealth. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.